All right, guys. Sahel coming to you with another video. Um, I want to talk about a few things in regards to some things that are happening as of right now on the global stage, and these things pan in with just the overall psyche of um how things are going, really, and just basically um how I guess fool's gold does fool a lot of people. Um, when it comes to the trade tariffs, um, it's pretty sad because when it's all said and done, only a few people really benefited from those trade tariffs. I want to say that uh, Trump's, I guess, billionaire friends, those are the ones who really benefited from the trade tariffs. Um, the America as a whole really didn't benefit from them. Um, and it, you know, what this brings to mind really is just kind of um, how I was thinking in America, like when I was still in America, I was thinking this way that, like, the overall people who are, I guess you can say, native to America, well, not native, or the overall people who are descendants of those who um, colonized America, who took the land from the native people, it seems that they are really for things that are detrimental to their well-being for some reason. And unfortunately, this is the sad thing about it, other groups of people follow along with that. So for example, you have I want to say okay, you have Karen, you have Karen, right? And you have Ken. Karen decides that, oh, we're being oppressed, this, that, and the fourth. Ken obliges and says, okay, we'll give you these concessions. And then Keisha follows along. And then, unfortunately, let's just say, that, trying to think of a name. Let's just say Tyrone decides to follow along as well. Now, Karen and Ken, they're not even the benefactors of the mess that they started. But I'm going to get into that as well. I'm going to show you guys something as well. I'm going to show you something. They're not even benefiting from the things that they started or the things that they signed up for, right? So when you look at it, it's like, okay, why did you do that? Like, why are you doing that? Why did you decide to perpetuate these things? So with that being said, when you look at these trade tariffs, I want to look at the ones he did a lot for Africa. He gave once to the Sahel. That's the thing. I think he put trade tariffs on Mali. He put trade tariffs on it couple of, I think he put trade tariffs on Nigeria. And I think he put it on Niger too. I think he put it on Niger as well. Yeah, I think he gave them trade tariffs. Now, with this being said, yes, China, China just shrugged his shoulders and basically said, okay, well, that's fine, but we're going to show the truth of the matter. They said, that's cool, you can do the trade tariffs, we manufacture everything though. We manufacture pretty much everything that you guys want, that you guys consume. And I want to say that with this being said, you go to TikTok now, China is now lifting up the curtain, showing that these goods like Gucci, these goods like Louis Vuitton, these goods like Prada, that they're all made in China. That all of these goods are having probably like a 200% markup, maybe even more. Yet, these goods in America, people have died over, people have gotten killed for. You see them in luxury boutiques, and the crazy thing is about it is that they're in luxury boutiques for that much more money, yet not, the super rich will pay for these things, yes. But the ironic thing is, and this is how backwards America is in a lot of aspects. This is how backwards America is. So you see, for example, that these goods are being produced for little money, like it doesn't cost that much, right? They're being sold for so much, right? But the guys that police arrest, right? The guys who police arrest for peddling counterfeit goods, let's just say that, for example, there's some goods that are counterfeit. You have, I guess you want to say, guys on the street, and this is in New York, this is in even Italy, this is everywhere. You have guys on the street, they're selling like quote unquote fake Gucci bags, quote unquote fake Louis Vuitton. But meanwhile, they may be selling the things that China is manufacturing. They may be selling the same exact thing. They may be selling the same exact thing, because it's all coming from one place. It's coming from China. So, you see how, rappers, you see how entertainers, they, make a big deal of these things. They talk about these things. They, push these things, right? But at the same time, right? It's really fool's gold, because it's not even that much. It doesn't cost that much to like manufacture. It doesn't cost that much to really make. Some of the material also, I believe they have like some that are coming from Nigeria. Like some of the leather is coming from Nigeria, I believe. Some of it, yes, I believe, and I think it is causing a pollution problem as well. So, Chinese, they just said, okay, we don't care. Fine, like make the trade tariffs. And this just goes to show you the economic warfare that America wants to raise against certain people because they simply don't like them. And I hate to say it, and I'm just going to say it, but this kind of goes to my fact that America and Americans, like mostly the Tupac Americans, or there's different dialects of Fulfulde that we use. There there's different dialects of Fulfulde. Um, you know, we can say Tubac, and we can also say Denejo as well. We can say Denejo too. We use that one, Denejo. So, these Denejo, they do things that are not really conducive to their well-being. So when you look at feminism, for example, I'll give you an example. When you look at feminism, it's not really good for their well-being, yet they think it was good for their well-being. Really, it just had the complete opposite effect. Because now you look at, they're incentivized to be lewd, they're incentivized to be promiscuous, they're incentivized to be like just out of control. They're incentivized to be doing the things that they're doing right now. This is the thing, they're incentivized to do these things. You look at, for example, the fact is that they're not going to tell you this, but America is, like, the Americans are going through a fertility issue. They're having fertility crisis. In Italy, it's the same thing. They may not be able to replace their population. They're going through these same things, and we all know that the West was the beacon, of feminism. So when you look at this happening, right? When you look at Africa, okay, thankfully we're not having that issue. In fact, the fertility is off the meter. Thank God, that's the good news. It's off the meter. And for some reason, this is a threat to them. It's a threat to them. Normality is a threat. That's the problem with these people. And, I don't know if I would be wrong to say that they're satanic, but it's kind of hard not to say that because of the things that they perpetuate, throughout the world and just in general. So I want to close this video because I don't want to be too long-winded. What did I want to say? In terms of what Africa needs to do, we just need to be understanding what changes are occurring and move accordingly to those changes. These trade tariffs have shown that the West never was our friend. Okay, That's the one thing that these trade tariffs have shown. If anything, they were just a benefactor from our resources, and that's it. Number two, understand your place. If you are going to go to the West, like if you're planning on going to the West, use it for what it is. Okay, it's just to take and then add back to your locality. Whether your locality is Senegal, whether your locality is Niger, whether your locality is wherever your locality is, okay? So with this being said, just really keep that in mind. Keep this in mind, like keep it in mind that like this is really what the purpose of the West serves you. Because even me, okay, before I left the West, I'm just gonna give you some personal things. Before I even left the West, they were going to offer me like a crazy salary. They were like, okay, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, just stay. And I said, well, if you can give it to me remote, that's cool, no problem. But they said no. So I said, okay, fine, no problem. Thank you anyway. I did the calculations on things and stuff like that. And I looked and said that, okay, if I were to buy a house in the West, in the long run, it would not do me any good. In the long run, it wouldn't really pay any dividends. Because, again, they do things that are detrimental to their own well-being. This is what I don't get about them. They do things that are detrimental. They do things that don't make any sense. That's the problem. It's weird to me. But with this being said, let's see what happens with these trade tariffs. But also, let's see if Africa, takes a more firmer, stricter stance in regards to letting people in from the West. Let's see. Hopefully they do. I'm hoping for it. I'm advocating for it, I really hope so. But anyhow, Fuller signing out. One more thing I want to say is Mao Zedong said it best themselves, is that, they're paper tigers. You know what I mean? When it comes down to this. And I want to clarify, I have nothing against people who may be in the West but do not follow what the West is doing. I have nothing against them. But the ones that I do have something against, and this is including fellow Muslims, is the fellow Muslims who follow the trends of the West. They see it's detrimental to not only their Islam, but their overall well-being, but they still do it anyway. That's just my case. Okay. And, people try to advise them, and people try to advise them, and they still don't want to take the advice. They still want to go on with the okie doke. But yeah, anyhow, leave your thoughts in your comments. Inshallah, I'll show some more excursions with Kazan and Russia overall. Inshallah, I'll be showing some more. I'm really debating on whether to do a face reveal or not. because it seems like when people make content, they want to see your face, but I don't really want to show my face, bro. I really don't want to show my face, but we'll see. Fuller signing out, Jalom.